have to watch your spending. It's just not a free-for-all. But you have to spend money. It's the same as a business, right? You have to spend money to grow, but you have to be cautious about where you're spending your money and how you're doing it. So I feel I have that ability to guide that. And obviously with the council, you're limited on what you can and can't do. But I feel I bring a lot of great ideas for expansion, for sure.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch, brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. There was a time in the history of politics in this land when there was a young fellow by the name of Joe Clark who decided he wanted to be the Prime Minister of Canada, and he became the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party, and everybody said, Joe who? I wonder how many times you have heard Mark who? Mark Fisher, candidate for mayor in Medicine Hat. Welcome.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Mark who? Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mark.
So I'm born and raised Medicine Hat. I'm 42 years old. Been here my whole life. Third generation. Grandpa was a business owner in Medicine Hat. My dad was a business owner in Medicine Hat. And I was a business owner up until a couple of years ago. So, there's a lot of roots here. And I just thought maybe I could do some good and try and lead the city and grow it.
No political experience, though. You're coming green as grass.
Green as grass. It started off with me being wanted to run for council. And I looked, and there were so many great candidates. And I thought, you know what? I could lead a bunch of these great candidates. So I thought, why not put in for mayor? I feel I'm a good leader, so that's how I decided to run for mayor.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about your life experience. You said you were a business owner. What has prepared you to take this next step?
Honestly, just watching my dad go through all the businesses and I was close with my dad when it came to that. Then when I started my business, you learn a lot really quickly when you become a business owner. And we were in business for 10 years. And myself and my business partners, we parted ways and shut it down. We were in the oil field industry. So with oil and gas being so unstable, it just seemed like a better option to shut it down. So currently I'm an operations manager for a local company in town here. And, so I'm still doing the day-to-day budgeting, hiring, things like that. So
what point of view would you bring to the mayor's job? Would you look at it as a business that has to be run as a business?
Definitely to a certain extent. You have to watch your spending. It's just not a free-for-all. But you have to spend money. It's the same as a business, right? You have to spend money to grow, but you have to be cautious about where you're spending your money and how you're doing it. So I feel I have that ability to guide that. And obviously with the council, you're limited on what you can and can't do. But I feel I bring a lot of great ideas for expansion, for sure.
What do you see the mayor's role as?
Honestly, I see the mayor's role as a mediator when it comes to meetings, guiding the meetings, getting a good flow in meetings, making sure everybody's getting along, and basically communicating with the people, trying to figure out what they want. When is the best time to move forward and push when it comes to maybe building a new facility and parks and things like that.
Would you have a role model that you might like to emulate as a politician, pardon the word?
Not really. I'm not a politician, never been, never thought I would be one. So I feel I'd bring a lot of fresh ideas maybe, and I want to bring politics back to maybe smarter thinking. Instead of just doing what the politicians want, you have to let the people decide what they want. You're voted in by them, so you have to do what they want.
So more of a grassroots approach to being
absolutely.
the mayor.
100%.
Okay. Was there one single issue that pushed you into this political ring?
Probably for the most part, just watching. I have two young boys, and we're in sports. They're in hockey, lacrosse, so we're in lots of different rinks and things like that. And I feel like Medicine Hats are just so outdated, and we just keep sinking money into them, and we just need to modernize, I feel. We've gone to lots of small towns. They have these beautiful facilities, and we just seem to be stuck in the past. I don't know when the Moose, the Hockey Hounds, those places were built, but had to be 50s or 60s, I would assume. And, it's just time to update them and realize multi-purpose buildings are better than a single-use building.
So are you big into promoting recreational facilities for Medicine Hat?
For sure, yeah.
We've heard talk about, we need a fourplex, a 4-ice sheet facility. You would be in favor of that?
I would be, and my thinking would be a lot different. It'd be to utilize some of the ice we do have, like currently at the Kinplex, if there's a way we can put 4 sheets of ice there, develop and modernize that area. You got tons of parking. It's a central in town there, and potentially look at something on the south side. But when you do that, then you'll need maybe 2 sheets. And when I talk about building, you don't have to spend $100 million on a facility. You go to a lot of these small towns, they're beautiful facilities, and they're doing it for a fraction of the cost. So I'd really want to look into that.
And there's a lot of community involvement in those too, in terms of, actually helping run the facility, unpaid work, that kind of thing. So maybe some thinking outside the box there.
Exactly, yep,
okay.
For sure.
Speaking of recreational facilities, one of the things that is being talked about now is the Southside Recreation Facility that would have an outdoor pool. Would you be in favor of that?
To a certain extent. I definitely want to look into it a little more. I'm definitely in favor in expanding in a pool recreational area, but I feel like just building a pool isn't the answer. If we're going to do it, make it a multi-purpose. You look at all these facilities they're building, they have the pools, the rinks, a library, everything all in them. And I think you could really utilize that rather than spending money to build that single-use facility again.
So more like a community hub than just a single-use rink or a pool.
Exactly, yep.
Okay. With your background in the oil and gas industry, you must have been following the discussion about whether or not the city of Medicine Hat should move some of the responsibility for the energy division into a municipally controlled corporation. I think there's several different options that are on the table right now of coming into council. Where would you go on that?
It's a very tough one for sure, with taxes and gas rates and everything like that. I know a lot of people ask me the question, would I be in favor, would I not be in favor? And my honest answer is I don't know at this point until I actually was in the position to make a decision. I feel myself, you have to have a board to a certain extent. So I feel the mayor should be on that board, and I feel maybe a couple council members, and then you should have somebody that actually knows what they're doing running those divisions. That's without looking at anything. That's my personal opinion for sure. So to a certain extent, yes, there should be some kind of board in place.
Okay. Another big topic is economic development. What kind of a mayor would you be in that area?
First of all, I'd like to look after the people that are already here. First and foremost, when it comes to economic development, everybody talks about bringing in new business. My question is, why can't we expand the businesses we have here already? Instead of having 10 people work for you, maybe they could have 20 people, and that grows a business there. And when that happens, I feel like naturally more business will come here because it's just, you're growing. So I don't want to forget about the business that's already here. And I feel like they are forgot about quite a bit.
One of the things I've heard in some of the forums was the fact that people have families here, they raise their children, and then their children have to go somewhere else because there's no opportunity for them here. You're a parent. What would you like to see?
That is the main reason I'm running, is so my kids don't have to leave here. To try and grow the city, to give them opportunities to be here and stay here. It's a beautiful city. I love being here. That's why I haven't left. And there has to be some change in order for the youth to stay here. And I think that does start with bringing in, more facilities for the youth and general public to use.
Okay. So quality of life is important to you.
Yep.
Okay. When we look at the other issue that people are up in arms about, that's property taxes and utility rates. I think we're already set for a 5.7% increase in the next budget cycle. But you can't keep going to that well forever.
No, you definitely can't. And I feel the pinch living here. And that's a big thing for me. To tell you that I can lower the taxes would be a blatant lie, because You just can't come in and lower the taxes. There's a reason they're going up. So I think coming in, you have to really look at every situation with the city, where the money is being spent, how it's being spent, and make the cuts you need to make there to try and stabilize the tax before you can ever think about lowering it. So my first goal would be to try and make it where there isn't a big increase. Obviously, there is going to be spending. You have to spend money to keep your city growing and maintain, but you have to do it in the right way.
If you want to attract business, you need to have the amenities that families want if they're going to come to Medicine Hat. So that is the other side, as you were talking about the recreation. So they kind of go hand in hand, I guess.
Yeah, they do definitely. Having the facilities doesn't just help our community, the people that live here. It helps the tourism. It helps everything when you host these tournaments. People are coming in. Maybe they think, oh, this is a great place to live. There's potential here. If there's business opportunities, potentially they could move here. So
yeah, I know if you've ever been to Kamloops, they have a big sign where they call themselves the Tournament Capital of the West. That is one of their planks for economic development. And you mentioned, like, we're situated in a good location with people, not too far from Lethbridge, not too far from Calgary or Red Deer, into Saskatchewan. So you have the opportunity to bring teams, fans, family into Medicine Hat and showcase our community.
Yeah, for sure you do. It's and I think once people are here, they realize, like, it is a great place, and if we had better amenities, they would potentially think about coming here more often, for sure.
Okay. Another amenity that we enjoy in Medicine Hat, have for over a century, is the Medicine Hat Exhibition and Stampede. They've come to the city looking for money. Would you be in favor of giving them that money?
Again, it would be something you'd have to look at. I am a huge supporter of the Stampede. My family's been involved with the Stampede forever and still is. My sister's still involved very closely with it. So there's a soft spot for me, for sure. When it comes to that, I think there has to be a lot of give and take. If we want to build a fourplex of ice at the Kinplex, maybe the Stampede grounds, we can incorporate all of it into one. So it's not just money going to the Stampede grounds, it's money used for the entire city for other facilities that are involved with it as well.
Okay. Sama Solar Project is one that has been kicked around a lot here too. Some say it's a boondoggle, some say it's a necessary investment if you're going to attract the industry that we want to bring here to give the jobs to the young people to get them to stay. You have some experience in the oil and gas industry. I don't know if it has to be one or the other, but what is your thought on that?
It definitely doesn't have to be one or the other. We did have a solar field there where the old Riverside water slide was before. It didn't last long. My thoughts on big solar fields, I'm not a huge fan. I think there is better ways when it comes to solar on houses and things like that. Yeah, like, there is a great place for solar. But to power a big city and give us extra power, I don't see you regaining that cost in an efficient time.
Okay, because I have heard too that some big industries, they need that alternative energy in order to meet some other outside targets. So it's a difficult one to try to, I guess, say it's good or bad. There are gray areas that you need to get into the minutia before you can make a final decision.
For sure. And if that business comes to you and they need that green energy and stuff like that, that's something you'd look at what are they willing to sign on as, what's the benefit to the city in order for us to spend any kind of money to bring them here. And you do hear about all these big companies that say, well, what are you going to give us to come to your city? I don't think that should be a thing. Why aren't we looking after the people that are here, that have been here for years and years and years with their businesses? Like, they don't get any breaks. They don't get the money from us. So why are we giving big corporation the money to bring them here? That's a real hard thing for me. It would have to benefit the city in order to actually make it really work.
Tough thing there is that you're in competition with other centers that are offering the carrots and the plums.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's where you gotta weight it, because you gotta look at what's your return on investment, for sure.
Okay. The other area that people have been up in arms in over the last couple of years was Division Avenue. And how did that mess happen? You've watched it from the outside. If you had been on the inside, what would you have done?
Definitely not what they did. There was talk, I know, of Kingsway and I believe 3rd Street there on the north side. And Kingsway would just be a disaster. 3rd Street, there's no point. There's nothing there. You know, we have so many great paths and everything already in this city. There's a way to expand on it without necessarily ruining the traffic, like I feel they did on Division for sure.
Okay. In your campaign so far, what have you learned that you didn't know going in?
A lot. It's definitely been a eye-opening experience. You know, it's been great meeting all these new people and talking to new people and listening to their thoughts. I really enjoy that part of it. And I guess you know, when you come in, you always think maybe you're a little right and everybody else maybe is wrong. And I've definitely learned quickly that I'm definitely wrong in a lot of areas.
And not afraid to admit it?
Not afraid to admit that for sure. You know, and I know if I am voted in, I will make a lot of mistakes. And I'm willing to own up to those mistakes. And that's how you learn and that's how you grow. But I think that's also why you have a council in place, is that you can all learn and grow together. You'll make the mistakes together, but you're also going to make some really good choices together.
Did you find out that some of your preconceived notions were wrong?
Oh, definitely, yep. There's definitely a few things where I thought, well, maybe you could do that, and you definitely can't. So yeah. I feel as mayor, you know, back in the day, you used to have a lot of power, and now it's more you have the ideas and you're trying to drive and meet the people to bring that industry in. But the overall say definitely has to go to the people as well. So,
yeah. One of the things that I've heard people talking about is that Medicine Hat should have a ward system where, you know, this person is responsible for this part of the city only. But I don't know if that's what we're ready for yet. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I don't think we have the population for that. You know, considering one area is a lot of industry there is a few houses in that industry. So what would you look at that ward? You know, maybe they have 50 people to vote from. Where you look at an area like Ross Glen or Crescent Heights where it's a lot of houses and they have a lot more people. So as of right now, I don't think our city is definitely set up for a ward. The way we do it now, I think, is the way to do it. And I think, you know, just seeing how many people are running shows that people are caring and they want to be involved, which is really good.
You've been on the outside over the last 4 years watching the last council, the current council that is on its way out. Your thoughts on how they did, and did that impact your decision to put your hat into the ring?
It definitely impacted me personally, and I think it impacted a lot of people. It shows in the numbers. And nothing against anything they did, because I know it's not going to be an easy job. But maybe, you know, their ideas and the way they clashed and things like that, they just didn't get along. And I don't think that's what you need in a council. I think you need that council to be a team. And you're either going to fail together or you're going to succeed together. And I think they were all afraid of that aspect maybe, so that's why they were divided. And I guess as a leader, that's what you have to do, is try to steer that ship to either make them succeed or fail. And it's a learning progress.
How did you develop your leadership skills?
I guess I've always kind of had them growing up playing hockey and stuff. You know, I was captain of a lot of my teams and very outspoken when it comes to just being able to talk to people, pulling people aside, you know, getting people to actually interact with each other. My parents always instilled me when I was a young kid to go and talk to the adults and be involved, and just, so I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. And I think that's a really good point, strong point of a leader, is not being afraid to go into a room and actually talk to people.
And listen.
And listen, for sure.
Listening is the big part of that equation, not just talking. Yeah, you have to hear what they're saying and take what they're saying and help build a consensus, I think.
Yep, 100%.
I have said on the podcast here to others that one of the most valuable pieces of currency around right now is that ballot. I have 8 choices for council and 1 choice for mayor. So, Mark Fisher, why should I spend my vote on you?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a well-known in the aspect of that ballot. I guess I'm asking people to put their trust in me and give me a chance to show my leadership and what I can bring to the table. It's a very tough decision. There's so many people running, and there's so many great candidates. You know, I've met so many of them, and they're just amazing. And we're definitely going to leave a lot of great candidates off council. It's just the way it's going to be. But honestly, for people to vote for me, they're taking a risk, and I think they'd be happy with the risk.
Mark Fisher, candidate for mayor of Medicine Hat, October 20th. Thank you for your visit.
Thanks, I appreciate it.